Colorado just obliterates Edmonton. Obliterates. Evisceration, destruction. You pick your favorite choice of
Let's set
word.
match fire.
Oh, just complete inferno. Monstrously lopsided game. Sure seems like Edmonton should be concerned. In fact, more than a few teams should be concerned tonight. We'll have all that and more coming up on Locked On NHL Game Night.
When that final horn sounds, you know it's time for Locked On NHL Game Night. All the post-game reactions to every game across the league, every single night, with insights only the hosts at Locked On can provide. Prepare to experience game day reactions like never before, only on Locked On NHL Game Night. Your team every day.
Good evening, hockey fans. Welcome to Locked On NHL Game Night, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your teams every day. Thanks for making Locked On NHL Game Night your place to get a recap of all the night's action in the NHL during the regular season and the playoffs, whether it's one game or 16 or everything in between. We were much closer to 16 than 1 tonight. We're always here with the latest for you. We are available wherever you get your podcasts and on YouTube. Today's episode brought to you by FanDuel. Download the FanDuel app now by visiting FanDuel.com. Win $300 in bonus bets if your first $5 bet wins. I'm Alex Wiederspiel. He's Shukri Wrights here on Locked On NHL Game Night, where you can get all the latest, the goals, the saves, the big moments. Lots of goals, not many saves in that Colorado-Edmonton game. Stole the stories from the night in the NHL. A big assist from our Locked On local experts. A busy, busy night in the league. And I originally had this idea that I was going to structure the entire second segment about the teams we should be most concerned about. We would go loser by loser. But there are so many things to be concerned about across the league, the way certain teams played. I'm just gonna do it the whole show. I'm gonna ask you for a scale of 1 to 10 how worried you are about X team. How does that sound to you?
That sounds fine. That sounds fine to me. I mean, because look, it was an eventful day around the NHL with so many things happening that I think it's actually appropriate, especially now that we're moving closer and closer to mid-November. So absolutely.
Okay, because I was thinking originally there were like 6 teams going into the night that if they lost, I was worried about. By the end of the night, there were like 11 that I was like, this doesn't look great. So why don't we start with Colorado and Edmonton, which many would think, I certainly thought was going to be the game of the night. And it was just never close. 9-1 the final score. Cale Makar scores 2 goals from distance really, really early. Goaltending looked off from the start. They pull Stuart Skinner. Gavin Brindley, the rookie, scores off a redirection. Jack Drury scores a couple of times. Once on a breakaway. Parker Kelly scores twice. Once a shorty. It was everywhere. They scored from distance. They scored with speed. The Avalanche were absolutely dominant in this one. Zach Pearson will give us the latest on Colorado's big win from Locked On Avalanche.
A 9-1 victory for the Colorado Avalanche tonight over the Edmonton Oilers. Colorado chases Stuart Skinner out of the net, who gets replaced with Calvin Pickard. Unfortunately for Pickard, he doesn't seem to be any better at stopping shots from the Avs, who were on an absolute mission tonight. All 4 lines are rolling. You've got great production from that 4th line. You've got 4 separate guys with 2 goals apiece. We're on a hat trick times 4 for this game. You've got a goaltender in Scott Wedgwood who plays really well despite only being tested 24 times. You've got everything going right for this game except the power play. Ugh. But the whole game, everything just seemed to go really well for the Avalanche, getting themselves that shorthanded goal, putting themselves in positions all night, battling in front of the net. Just an absolute fantastic performance from start to finish for the Colorado Avalanche, and I can't wait to talk about so much more in this game on the next episode of Locked On Avalanche. I hope everybody enjoyed watching this as much as I did. Let's go Avalanche.
All right, Shu. Edmonton falls to 6-4 with this loss, and a simple question. On a scale of 1 to 10, 10 for the number of goals Colorado should have had, Captain Gabe Landeskog had one called back on an offside by inches. So on a scale of 1 to the number of goals Colorado should have had in this game, how worried are you right now about the Edmonton Oilers?
How do I put this nicely? I'm going to go, first and foremost, I want to respond to the report by saying that when the last statement that was made I hope everyone enjoyed it as much as I did. I don't think Oiler fans enjoyed that tonight.
No.
I'm sorry for not for being a prick here, but I don't think they enjoyed it. If I'm pretty sure they actually left Rogers' place quite infuriated. So to answer your question, I'd say a healthy 7 because it just seemed like the Edmonton Oilers were allergic to defense tonight. It just seemed like wherever the Avalanche went, they let a nice hot steamy fart, and the Oilers want no parts to being near the ice where said steamy fart was released. So therefore, you saw 9 goals. I thought I was watching football. No, this is hockey. Oh, why? What happened? Oh, let me go through everything for you real quick. Nathan McKinnon, he brought the Big Mac. We're talking the Big Mac from McDonald's. No, McKinnon, Big McKinnon showed up tonight. Not that he never shows up, but you get the point. He's now tied with Cole Caulfield and the Montreal Canadiens for the league lead in goals. Oh, Parker Kelly. He said, time to bring the lunchbox to the game tonight. Oh, he did. He had 3 points, 2 goals and assists. And Cale Makar. Who wants more Cale? We all do. You got 2 goals. Hey, Jack, what's Jack in the box? Oh, that's right. Jack Drewy, 2 goals in this one. So, listen, the fact of the matter is this. The Oilers, I want to call this off to just a bad night, but you see a collective butt whipping like that, something's rotten. And I'm going to just leave it there because I can go on and on for the next half hour about this game alone.
It's a shame this wasn't the only game of the night. To borrow your analogy, we'll just say Colorado feasted tonight. It was famine in Edmonton. Anaheim with a 4-3 win over the Vegas Golden Knights. This one went to overtime, and Vegas down 3-1 in the third period. They get 2 goals in the third, points from Eichel and Marner on both of those goals. Ultimately, Anaheim gets the win in overtime. It's the 6th straight win for the Ducks. Let's hear from Kyle Carr of Locked On Anaheim before I take Shoe's temperature on this race in the Pacific Division.
Ducks come away with a massive win in Vegas in overtime. After coming back to climb through, they make the win in overtime with Jacob Trouba getting the game winner. Kyle Carr here from Locked On Anaheim Ducks. What a great game to have them 6 games ahead. What a great game. Fly together.
All right, so that's Kyle Carr. Thanks, Kyle. And Shoe, now let me take your temperature on this one before we jump to our next game. How concerned should Vegas be about being able to hold off Anaheim for the Pacific Division crown? 1 to 10.
I'll say a scale of 1 to 10. I'll say a 6. They should be. They absolutely should be. Because I think it's now time for everyone in the NHL. Duck fans, I'm giving you your flowers. Your team is legit this year. And it's not just because of tonight, but I've been following this team very closely now for the better part of the last couple of weeks. I mean, really intently. They're really good. And this is not just a hot stretch, just playing good hockey. But, man, the acquisitions that they've made getting Trouba and Chris Kreider, it's paying off, and it's trickled down throughout this entire lineup. So you saw this tonight, 32 seconds left in overtime, Trouba to the rescue. And honestly, I just think that Anaheim, this team is for real. And then on top of that, the goal that beat like the Golden Knights, 5-hole on Akira Schmid. I mean, that was just absolutely beautiful to see. And then also, like Pavel Doriev and Kaden Korshak scoring in the third period. This Anaheim team is for real. And Vegas, you got company in the Pacific.
New Jersey gets the win in one of the earliest games, might have been the earliest game of the day. New Jersey wins over Pittsburgh. This was a 2-1 final because New Jersey gets the credit for the goal in the shootout. So it was 1-1 technically, and then the Devils win the shootout 2-0. Goals in this one from Arseny Gritsyuk and Ryan Graves. Zach Berman of Locked On New Jersey Devils with the last word on this one.
think I might be the last person here inside the press box at the Prudential Center, but the New Jersey Devils are still perfect at home following a 2-1 win in a shootout over the surprising Pittsburgh Penguins. It was not an easy game. Dan Muse's style that he has brought to Pittsburgh has made them an incredibly tenacious forechecking team, and New Jersey, of course, so banged up on defense, had trouble with that all game, but Jake Allen was absolutely phenomenal, only allowing the one goal. Of course, it had to be an ex-Devil. Of course, it had to be Ryan Graves, and of course, it had to go in off the face of Andre Palat, because why not? That was the only puck that went behind Jake Allen all game. Arseny Gritsuk scored the lone New Jersey goal in regulation, and then Paul Cotter and Jesper Bratt beat Artur Silovs in the shootout. The New Jersey Devils improved to 11-4, 7-0 at home, and they will look to take that perfect record to 8-0 at home against Matthew Schaefer and the New York Islanders on Monday night. I'm Zach Berman. This is a Locked On Devils Quick Hitter.
Okay, admittedly, that might be the only one we don't actually have to go into a level of concern about, but New Jersey does ultimately get the win over Pittsburgh. How about this, real quick, before we go to break, Shu? Just Pittsburgh, they played really well in this one. They probably deserved a better fate than they got.
Oh, they did. Like, they played the right way. I mean, I'm not even concerned. I think my concern meter as it pertains to the Penguins is probably low because they've shown throughout the season that they've been pretty consistent, but I just think that they just hit a pretty bad stretch of hockey going 1-2-1 in the last 4 games. So for me, the concern meter is like fairly low. I say it's at a 2 right now.
Yeah. All right. Very good. As promised, we're going to tell you who we're really worried about in the next segment with a couple of original 6 teams in that discussion, plus some controversy between Seattle and St. Louis. That is next on Locked On NHL Game Night. But first, our show brought to you in part by our friends at Rugit. Let's be real, making excuses does not solve anything. And we've heard them all before. It's just stress. I'm tired. It happens to everyone sometimes. But when it comes to performance, sometimes your body just needs a little extra support. And that's where Rugit comes in. Rugit.com offers fast-acting, doctor-prescribed treatments for ED designed to help you stop making excuses and start making moves. Rugit makes it easy to get started. You just connect with a board-certified doctor, 100% online, no awkward waiting rooms, no in-person appointments. If prescribed, your treatment ships discreetly straight to your door. The process is fast. It's simple. It's private, and it's all handled by real doctors. It's about confidence, connection, and getting back to the moments that matter. Visit Rugit.com/LockedOnNHL to get 15% off your first order. That's Rugit.com/LockedOnNHL. And don't forget to use our code Locked On NHL so they know that we sent you. Rugit, stop making excuses. Start making moves. As promised, the concernometer is being dialed up again. Let's start with Tampa and Washington because this is kind of snuck up on me by surprise. So Tampa, who I think we would argue we were pretty concerned about the way their season started, they've been red hot of late. They fell behind early in this one, but battled back, ultimately get a third period goal from Brandon Hagel. That's the difference in this one. The Caps, meanwhile, have now lost 5 of their last 6. All in regulation. They are 500 in the NHL right now at 7-7-1. Shoo, I'm surprised to be saying this with the way things started for Washington. Concernometer for the Caps, scale of 1 to 10.
8. It's
Whoa.
Probably the highest I've given a team so far in this one. Like, what's the deal? Like, what's going on? Because for me, it just seems like this Capitals team, they just have not been able to find their footing so far. And I'm starting to get really concerned about the state of the team as we are now entering mid-November. And I mean, I'm not saying that, oh my God, your season is in danger of, missing the playoffs entirely. Like, no, well, what I am saying is for a Caps team that, listen, a year ago, all the success that they've had, there were, understandably a pretty high level of expectation going into the season, but so far, to be nice, it's been a disappointment in Washington, but you got to give the Lightning credit as well, and where they are absolutely on fire right now, and especially Brandon Hagel, who scored for the 6th time in his past 7 games. So Tampa Bay, playing really good hockey at this moment in time. But as far as Washington is concerned, there is reasons to be concerned.
Seattle gets a 4-3 win over St. Louis. This one was not without controversy, and there were a ton of storylines going into this one. Jordan Kyrou's first game back after the healthy scratch that he missed the last game. St. Louis winds up getting the win. He comes back in. Actually played pretty well. Strong forecheck early in the game helps lead to one of St. Louis's 2 first period goals. He would get a goal later that looked like was going to stand as the winner if not for a controversial late goal from Chandler Stevenson with 2 seconds left. And the question, Shu, I think we're all wondering, how was that not goalie interference? Jim Montgomery said after the game that had that call been made with 5 minutes left in the period, they absolutely would have challenged. They just didn't want to go down 4-on-3. They didn't want to risk going down to the 4-on-3 in overtime. And of course, in overtime, either way, it didn't matter. Shane Wright gets the winner for Seattle, another young player who has not received quite the same flowers as some of the other young players, the Macklin Celebrinis, Connor Bedard's, and Leo Carlson's. But Shane Wright's been playing pretty well of late. We'll get to your concernometer, but first, let's hear from the victorious side. Locked On Kraken's Eric Ayala has the final word on Seattle.
Seattle Kraken in their seventh overtime of the season get the win over the St. Louis Blues. Shane Wright with the heroics in overtime. The Seattle Kraken dominated possession in the overtime frame. But before Shane Wright was set up for the game-winning goal, Chandler Stevenson had to get one past the Blues with 0.5 seconds left in regulation. A comeback win for the Seattle Kraken, not just because they were down late in this game, but because they did not play well against the San Jose Sharks and were down Joey Daccord, who's back in Seattle being evaluated, while the Seattle Kraken are on a back-to-back road trip. We'll find out what happens with Joey Daccord, but Lane Lambert very pleased with the bounce back and the tenacity from this team. But as has been the case early in this season, it's all about consistency and staying healthy with this Kraken team, but they'll take this win. They're now 3-4 in overtime on the season. We'll get into this and more on the next episode of Locked On Kraken.
Shu, it felt like if there was one team that could not afford to lose this way with this controversy, boy, it sure felt like the St. Louis Blues.
It certainly was. And concernometer for the St. Louis Blues, let's say is at a 7. But this game, despite the controversy, you see, people like to blame bad calls and whatnot. And yes, it actually was and should have been called goalie interference. But man, like, you got to give the Seattle Kraken credit here, because I do think that like the tenacity and the grit that was shown in this game was outstanding. And I agree with Erica in her report in regards to the grit and the tenacity shown in this game. And you talk about a Kraken team that that just found a way to win. And I do think that what you're seeing is it not just only a balanced attack, but as well as just a consistent effort and play in which that, and it showed tonight where I thought Philip Grubauer played a solid game in net. I thought that that it was key to see guys like Eli Tolvanen and Riker Evans chip in offensively as well, and not just rely solely on Chandler Stevenson or Shane Wright. I thought that was absolutely huge. And for the Kraken, I think they're going to need to continue to show that level of consistency throughout the season.
Boston gets the win over Toronto. Love this original 6 rivalry. Boston scored their goals in bunches tonight. Shu, the Leafs actually took the lead in this one. Nick Robertson got his 4th of the year. Good to see him contributing. He's had kind of an odd start to his career in Toronto. The Bruins would respond, though, in the same period with 2 goals inside of 20 seconds. The Leafs tied it up before the intermission. Bruins added 2 more in the second, both within 2.5 minutes. John Tavares got his 8th, this one on the power play to get the Leafs back within 1. Boston added 1 more from Fraser Minton in the 3rd. My question to you on this, should we be concerned at all, scale of 1 to 10, about the Leafs' seeming lack of consistency as the season goes on? Boston red hot of late. They seem to be Jekyll and Hyde, but Toronto, I can't seem to decide which one they want to be.
I'm going to put my Bruins fan cap to the side for a moment and say that the Leafs, me being concerned about the Leafs it's really not surprising. I was concerned going back to mid-October, and here we are on November the 8th talking about the Toronto Maple Leafs, still inconsistent, still maddening to watch at times. But again, the Boston Bruins, they are red hot right now. They're red hot in terms of what they're getting, consistent goaltending on a nightly basis from Swayman and Korpisalo. And listen, you talk about like some pretty good like goal scoring dynamos in this league. You got to now have that conversation about David Pastrnak and Morgan Geekie, because they were absolutely like dynamite tonight. And Jeremy Swayman made timely saves for the Bruins, in which that they were playing this one without Charlie McAvoy. So, and which led to Mason Lohrei returning back to the line for the Bruins. So for me, like, you got to give credit to the Bruins. Like, they are red hot right now, but then also for the Leafs, they've got to figure out like who and what they are post Mitch Marner.
Yeah. At Madison Square Garden tonight, they were honoring some of the greatest Ranger icons in the history for the centennial season, and the Rangers laid their 5th goose egg of the year at home. 5 shutouts at Madison Square Garden, and the Rangers, unfortunately for their fans and for me, have been on the wrong end of that. And this time against the New York Islanders team, who they outscored 23-5 in a season sweep a year ago. The Islanders were having none of it tonight. First couple of shifts, the Rangers looked like they were coming out flying, and then the Islanders slowly whittled away at the Rangers and had 3 2-on-1 goals, plus a high danger, high slot power play goal. Gil Martin of Locked On New York Islanders has the word from the island.
The New York Islanders blank the New York Rangers 5-0 at Madison Square Garden. A great win for the Isles. 2 goals by Bo Horvat. He now has 11 on the season, which as of this minute ties him for first in the NHL. But the big story, Ilya Sorokin, a 30-save shutout. And it's amazing how much better Ilya Sorokin plays when he's not facing high danger chance after high danger chance. The Islanders did a much better job of keeping the Rangers on the perimeter. And when they did allow a shot to get through, Sorokin was equal to the task. So a big 2 points here for the Islanders as they start their 7-game road trip. For more in-depth daily coverage of your New York Islanders, check out the Locked On Islanders podcast.
All right, that is Gil Martin. Before we jump into the concernometer about the Rangers, which I'm very curious to hear, Shu, let's hear from John Chick of Locked On New York Rangers, who I think his concernometer is pretty high at the moment.
All right, so the Rangers just got embarrassed and shut out by the Islanders, shut out at home for the millionth time this season, and there's something that's becoming a bit of an alarming trend here. And I'm not ready to call this a habit as of yet, but when you look at this game here tonight, and when you look at the game against the Carolina Hurricanes, in both of those games, they unfolded almost the exact same way, and that is not a good thing if you're a fan of the Rangers, because in both of those games, the Rangers more or less dominated for the first 8, 10, 12 minutes of the game, whatever it was, scoring chances left and right. They had some jump, they had some buzz, the building was rocking. It's going to be a good night, right? It definitely felt that way in both of those games. And then what happens is they give up a goal to a team that they are soundly outplaying, which is not the end of the world, but apparently for this Rangers team it is, because after that happened in both of these games, the first one against the Canes and this one against the Islanders, the Rangers have basically fallen apart after that. They've borderline given up. They've collapsed. They just have not been able to get back to that initial level that they were at. And when you're dominating a team and they get a goal, okay, you're down 1-0. Like, it's not the end of the world. It's midway through the first period. You can come back. But obviously the Rangers, it's been very, very deflating each time that's happened. So that's something to keep an eye on moving forward. And going to break it down in the next episode of Locked On New York Rangers.
1 point in 7 home games this season for the New York Rangers. Shu, before we go to break, concernometer scale for the Rangers right now.
I want to beat my previous record of 7. Or was it 8? I want to say 9. 9.
What's funny is, Shu, I feel like it's probably a 9 at home. It could be like a 4 on the road, but at home, it's definitely a 9. This is no good.
It's bad.
Let me quote one of my favorite YouTube videos from the 2010s and just say, when watching the New York Rangers and watching the Colorado Avalanche tonight, to quote the I can't think of his name at the moment, the Cleveland comedian who shouted out the Browns stadium and called it the factory of sadness. He referred to a Chargers-Packers game and said it's like they're playing a different sport than you. That's how the Colorado game felt tonight. The best of the rest will take us to a slow start for the Flyers, a mess of a game for the Mammoth, and Nashville blows a couple of leads. That will be our final segment coming up here on Locked On NHL Game Night. But first, our program today brought to you in part by FanDuel. The NBA is back. There's no better place to get in on the action than FanDuel, the official sports betting partner of the NBA. Even if you missed the start of the game or you want to ride the hot hand, FanDuel has live bets on everything from who will score next to fourth quarter comebacks. Plus, you can combine your live bets into a same-game parlay for a shot at a bigger payout. It keeps every game exciting, especially when your team is making that late push. Right now, FanDuel is giving new customers $300 in bonus bets when your first $5 bet hits. So head to FanDuel.com to sign up and play your game with FanDuel, the official sports betting partner of the NBA. All right, Shu, you ready to go rapid fire here?
Yes, I am. Let's do this.
Let's roll. Let's start with Dallas and Nashville. This one was a wild one considering how low event it was. Not a lot of high danger chances in this one, but every single one that occurred seemed to go into the back of the net. Didn't matter who made the mistake. It could be a goalie, could be a defenseman, could be a forward not back checking. Every mistake ended up seemingly in a goal, and that's how you wind up with a 5-4 score. Wyatt Johnston sets up the winner for the Stars to Sam Steele to put Dallas ahead permanently. Rupe Hintz with a goal in this one. Steven Stamkos with another beauty of a goal in this one. The Predators, though, are now 1-7 in their last 8 games. That's no overtime losses or shootout losses either. That is 1-7-0. Concerno-meter shoe for the Nashville Predators.
8.
Yeah.
Between the 0 and 10, 8. It's just that simple because look, after the year that they had last season, you came into the year with having new expectations and, maybe just a smithering of hope that they would be able to turn it around. And so far it's been clearly a disaster. And I'm at a loss of words right now, but credit to the Dallas Stars for one heck of a win tonight. Adam Earn tying it up at 4-4, and then Sam Steele scoring the game winner. They made it 5-4 at 10:20 of the third period.
Carolina takes down Buffalo 6-3, 2 empty netters. So this game was actually a little closer than the score indicated. But Carolina's Stars starting to heat up. Andrei Svechnikov, good to see. If you're a Carolina fan, had a goal and an assist in this one. Remember, he had no points through his first 8 games. Got demoted to the 4th line at one point. Sebastian Aho gets a goal in this one. Buffalo, who I've been very Jekyll and Hyde on Buffalo. I have tried to dig their early grave 3 games into this season that I praise them for getting back into it. Guess what, Shu? Now they are 1 game under NHL 500, 5-6-2 after this one. They got goals from Owen Power, Alex Tuch, Tage Thompson, but I got to say, concerno-meter for Buffalo starting to trickle back up, I imagine.
I mean, right now it's at a 5.5, where we're like, they've been very much up and down. They have yet to show me that they can play consistently well for a prolonged stretch. So for me, like my concern meter is at a 5.5.
All right, San Jose takes down Florida 3-1, and this felt like a game that earlier this season, I feel like Florida would have actually taken care of business, much like they did in the opener against Chicago. But as the season has gone on, they're without Alex Barkov. Things are getting weird in Florida. They cannot seem to buy a goal when they need it. Macklin Celebrini scores again in this one, his 10th of the season for San Jose. Huge game for Yaroslav Askarov. He stood on his head, stopped 38 of 39 shots. Florida is now NHL 500. So the question is this, Shu, Florida, the defending 2-time Stanley Cup champs, their goal clearly was to go get a 3rd one this year. How concerned are you through their first 15 games?
This one I'm at a 4.5, because they have won back-to-back cups and they've gone to 3 straight Stanley Cup finals. I'm not high in terms of the concern level, But it is weird what's going on with the Panthers. But they are besieged by injuries. I mean, but we're not going to use injuries as an excuse. But the truth of the matter is that, like, for the Stanley Cup champions, it is getting a little weird as to what's going on in South Florida. But as far as the Sharks are concerned, I mean, Macklin Celebrini continues to show why that there maybe a pretty good chance he's representing Team Canada in the Olympics, which really would be unbelievable. But the player the Sharks has been like pretty steady over the last 6 games, winning 5 of the last 6. And they're getting contributions up and down the lineup as well. Adam Gaudette, Alexander Winberg also scoring for the team in this one.
All right, Ottawa takes down Philadelphia in overtime 3-2. Tim Stützle scores 2 goals in this one. And how about a little inversion here? We'll go real quick here. We're running low on time as usual on these Saturday night 13-game extravaganzas. Ottawa, though, only had 2 shots in the final period and overtime combined. 2 shots, and one of them wound up being the OT winner. Ottawa's looked a little weird at times this season. Any concern about the Senators right now?
No. Like, I'm not high on a concern meter. It's at a 4. I think they will ultimately figure things out because they did get out to a pretty good start in this game.
Sure.
But Tim Stützle was huge in this one, scoring the 2 goals against Philadelphia.
Montreal and Utah, this one was a blowout. The Canadiens score 5 unanswered to end this game with a 6-2 win. Utah has cooled some shoe, losing 4 of their last 5 in regulation. They've allowed 21 goals in those 4 losses. So the question is, concernometer rising for a Utah team that just a week or 2 ago looked like one of the ascending teams in the NHL?
It's at a 5. Defensively, they have been brutal, to put it mildly. And listen, this Montreal team is absolutely buzzing with confidence. It's been nothing short of incredible to see them play. Like the young kids, especially Cole Caulfield, who continues to make a name for himself in terms of like how he could potentially crack the Olympic roster as well. And I think that for Montreal, they're just finding different ways to win, getting scoring up and down the lineup in terms of everybody doing their job. It's something that Cole Caulfield talked about in the postgame.
Vancouver gets the 4-3 win over Columbus, and man, did the Canucks need that one. They improved to 8-8 on the season, and it had been a rough start for Vancouver. The metrics look a lot worse than a 7-8 team. If you look under the hood, they hadn't been very good at 5-on-5. The penalty kill hadn't been very good. Much needed win for them. Columbus, another one of these young teams that has cooled a little bit. They fall to 7-7. They've lost a couple on this road trip out west, including a 5-1 loss recently to Calgary. So final one of the night. Concernometer on the Blue Jackets. Did we overhype them too early?
A little bit, but my concern meter is probably at a 6 right now in relation to the Columbus Blue Jackets.
All right, folks, we powered through 13 games tonight. We'll be back with more tomorrow night. As always, the weekends are a lot of fun here on Locked On NHL Game Night. I'm out of breath. If you want complete coverage of your favorite NHL team, there is a Locked On NHL Team podcast and YouTube show for you because we have one for every NHL team. And this show, Locked On NHL Game Night, it's here for you each and every night of the regular season and the playoffs. We'll wrap up the night in the NHL. Some nights we'll have more analysis than others, and some nights we are going to go rapid fire. Don't forget to like and subscribe to this show. If you are watching on YouTube, we want to see your thoughts. Who are you most concerned about after tonight's games? Let us know in the comments section. That's it for this episode of Locked On NHL Game Night. For Shukri Wrights, I'm Alex Wiederspiel. Thanks for listening and watching Locked On NHL Game Night, part of the Locked On Podcast Network.